When was the last time that God answered one of your prayers? And a follow-up question, when was the last time you helped him answer someone else's prayer? Think about the difference there. Often if we just think, I need something, I'm asking God for help, and he's coming through for me, or we hope. Then again, what if he's trying to come through for me, but he's involving someone else? Remember the great quote from Spencer W. Kimball that God does answer our prayers, but usually he does that through other people? Well, what if I'm the other people? What if he's trying to answer someone else's prayer through me? Am I open to that? Am I in tune enough with the Spirit that I may not even know about the initial prayer between the other person and Father in heaven? But if I'm open to Father in heaven's inspiration to me, and then I reach back out and try to serve the person I'm being prompted to serve, maybe that prayer is being answered after all. I guess in some ways, think about the vertical and the horizontal. I know I use those often, but to think about that cross, the vertical post, the horizontal beam, and to bring the cross together in ways that are both horizontal and vertical. We need that. I think too often we limit our prayers to verticality alone. I pray to God, God answers me. Well, there's not a lot of surface area in a straight line like that. Whereas if there's a horizontal dimension, partly horizontal, where I'm reaching up to God, there's the vertical part, but then he's reaching down to someone else, now we're extending the horizontal aspect. And then that person, with the vertical inspiration he or she has received, reaches out horizontally to me to complete the triangle. Now, it's this concept of completing the triangle that I've really been wrestling with. And sometimes it's more than a triangle. It's a quadrilateral or a pentagon or a whatever kind of shape you've got in terms of how many people God is trying to involve in answering a prayer. Now, as we wrap our heads around these shapes, let me show you a couple of verses that helped this principle dawn on me. This start in section 38, verse 30. And in that verse, the Lord says, I tell you these things because of your prayers. And that seems pretty straightforward. That's the norm for the Doctrine and Covenants. You've prayed, that's the vertical, and I'm answering this prayer. There's the vertical down that comes right on back. Okay? We send it up to heaven, God sends the answer. We send the question up, God sends the answers down, and we're good to go. It's a two-way street, but it's only a single lane, okay? Between us and God, it's very narrow verticality. But thank heavens that works. All these people that had questions and asked God, let him ask, right? And God responded beautifully. But now let's start expanding it. Go back to section 37, where we started this week, and look at verse 2. And again, I say unto you, that ye shall not go until ye have preached my gospel in those parts, and have strengthened up the church whithersoever it is found. And more especially in Colesville, for behold, they pray unto me in much faith. Now, this is the revelation that they're being told, go gather to the Ohio. And here it's saying, well, don't do it quite yet. You've got a few other things to do. You got to preach the gospel around here. I mean, you're here. You might as well get some good work done. But especially go strengthen the saints in the Colesville branch. Colesville, New York, amazing saints there. We're going to see more and more of them a little bit later this year. But they have been praying to me in much faith. Now, notice the triangle starting to form. You have these Colesville saints vertically looking up to God, sending up a prayer. Filled with faith, we need help. We need strengthening. And instead of God responding directly to the Colesville saints, he responds to Joseph Smith. In fact, he reveals something to Joseph Smith and says to him, before you guys pick up and leave New York, bless some people. Before you go to Ohio, there's some people in need right here. So help them, serve them, strengthen them. They've been asking for my assistance. I'm giving it to them through you. So up from Colesville saints, up to God, down to the prophet, and then from the prophet back to the Colesville saints, completing the triangle, okay? Adding some horizontal opening here. Now, what I love about that is It involves other people. It allows us to participate in God's desire to bless his children. And if we are open to the Spirit's promptings and then willing to act on them in the benefit of our fellow man and woman, incredible things start to happen. We begin to expand this circle of care. Well, this triangle of care. Keep adding enough people, it'll be a circle sooner or later. But it's this one great whole where God is trying to help us all help us all. I'm amazed at how much mileage he wants to get out of his blessings. And so to bless us, to help us participate, that is so key. Let me give you one last example. This is now section 39. In verse 16, behold, verily, verily, I say unto you, that the people in Ohio call upon me in much faith, thinking I will stay my hand in judgment upon the nations. But I cannot deny my word. So the judgment's going to come. Remember, second coming context. But there are people in Ohio calling upon me, praying in much faith. In fact, as much faith as the people of Colesville have. Now, Colesville was praying for something. God inspired the saints to go bless them and meet their needs. Well, now it's happening with saints in the Ohio. What are you going to do for them? In some ways, you're going to be pulled between a rock and a hard place where you've got saints in New York that need your help, saints in Ohio that are going to need your help. Follow the Spirit, everybody's needs will be met. But in some ways, this third example is waiting on the third step. They have been praying to me for help. I'm now telling you that they have been praying to me for help. Step 3 is on you. What are you going to do about it? Will you complete the triangle? Will you finish this? Will you help me answer their prayers? And here's the danger. If we don't do our part, then we've made it look like God hasn't been doing his part. And that's dangerous for the person's faith and testimony who's been asking God for help. Oh, he's eager, he's anxious, he's willing, he's trying, but he's trying to involve other people so they can be blessed in the process. I'll give you an example. 2, actually. One was with a student of mine a few years ago that was really, really struggling and was really frustrated with the church. He kept saying, we would have often these conversations outside of class, and he'd often say, why doesn't the church do anything for me? And I remember at one point just looking at him saying, I am the church. What do you think I'm doing? I am trying to do everything I can to help you. Now, if that's one example, let me give you another one. And this one was less about church and more about God directly. A friend that was really struggling, hard things that they were going through. And they had been praying to God, but I didn't know about that. Other people didn't know about that, but somebody felt a little nudge. I wonder about brother so-and-so. I've just had them on my mind. And so they reached out to others, and then eventually that word came to me, and I thought, that's interesting. And I just happened on a Sunday morning to reach out to this friend and say, hey, I'd love to sit down and talk, see how things are going. And okay, well, they were willing. So we sat down together after church and we had an amazing conversation. What blew me away, though, was at one point, this good brother that was really struggling, hard situation he was in, and was reaching up to heaven and praying to God desperately, I need your help. As he started opening up to me and sharing what he was going through and how desperate he'd been calling on God for assistance. And then he said, but God isn't doing anything for me. And I couldn't blame him. He'd gotten to a point where it was this desperation. I'm at the end of my rope, and is God on the other end of it? It doesn't seem like it, because I keep praying and no answers are coming. I send it up, nothing comes back down. But in the moment he said, why isn't God doing anything for me? I simply responded, what if he's doing it right now? What if this horizontal conversation is part of the answer to your prayer? And I just remember seeing in my mind this triangle form. And it was more than a triangle because more people were involved. And this good brother reaching up to God, God prompting this good sister to have him on her mind, her reaching out to other people, it eventually getting to me reaching out to him, and closing the loop, completing the shape, whatever shape it is by now. But proving to someone, God does hear your prayers. The question is, do we hear God's invitation? And do we act on it to respond? I know I have a lot more room for improvement here. I wonder how many triangles have not yet been completed because I haven't heard and heeded the promptings of God. I hope that we'll have the patience and faith in each other as we wait on God to answer our prayers through one another. But on the receiving end, I hope that we are willing to respond, be first responders. The moment God relays to us the fact that he's received a 911 call. This is how we care for one another. This is how God tries to care for us. And so based on all these revelations, all these verses that we've seen, pick your shape, however many sides, but complete it. And make sure that when God is answering people's prayers through us, everything comes together the way God intended.